All right, welcome back, everybody. Check this out. A lot of us are fans of R. Kelly's, or were fans of R. Kelly. We grew up listening to his music. He was huge when he was at the top of his game. He is someone that's legendary. His musical talents cannot be denied, and his stardom was real, right? But where R. Kelly is today is a far cry from being on that stage in front of thousands of fans and being known as the Pied Piper or the one. I believe I can fly, Grammy Award winning the one. Right now, a lot of people want to know about the life and times of R. Kelly, what happened and where he is now. And I think that Nicki Swift actually put this together really well. So I'm going to give it to you exactly how it was created. NickiSwift.com, shout out. So, R. Kelly has been battling sexual misconduct allegations since the 90s. But it wasn't until 2019 that the I Believe I Can Fly singer was actually placed behind bars to await a trial that, as of November of 2020, has not happened yet. Now, as the BBC reports, Kelly's questionable behavior began in 1994 when he was age 27, and he actually got married to 15-year-old Aaliyah back then. In 1996, he was sued by Tiffany Hawkins, who dated Kelly when she was 15 years old, and alleged that personal injuries and emotional distress were the order of the day. In the early 2000s, the singer was then sued by 3 women. In 2002, he was slapped with 21 counts of making child pornography, followed by 12 more charges and an arrest in Florida. Insufficient evidence resulted in him walking free on all charges, and it wasn't until a 2017 BuzzFeed feature alleged Kelly of running a sex cult that more women began to come forward. The Lifetime documentary, which is now famous, Surviving R. Kelly, shortly followed that. And as Billboard notes, Kelly was arrested in February of 2019, and he was charged with 10 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse against 4 women, including 3 minors. And for that, he was released on $100,000 bail. That July, though, Kelly was arrested again, except this time there would be no bail. Now, after being charged with 18 counts of kidnapping, forced labor, child sexual exploitation, and child pornography production and obstruction of justice, he was placed behind bars finally, where he remains until this current moment. Here's what R. Kelly's life is really like in prison right now. Now, on July 11th of 2019, R. Kelly was arrested, right, while he was walking his dog in Chicago, and he was slapped with a 13 counts of indictment. 13 counts of indictment, which, according to ABC News, included charges of sexual exploitation of children, conspiracy to defraud the United States, coercion, child pornography. He entered a plea of not guilty on all these charges, but still remained behind bars at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Chicago to await his trial. Now, just a few weeks later, in August of 2019, Kelly was brought into court by 3 U.S. Marshals, as it was reported on ABC News, with his hands clasped behind his back, handcuffed. Kelly was reportedly wearing blue prison scrubs and orange slip-on shoes with a white and blue striped sole on the shoes, and he was sporting a thick beard as he faced another set of charges which were filed against him in Brooklyn federal court. This time, Kelly pled not guilty to 5 charges, claiming he ran an enterprise made up of managers, drivers, assistants, and more whose jobs wasn't just to promote his music, but also to recruit women and girls to engage in illegal sexual activities with R. Kelly. Now, despite Kelly's not guilty plea, the magistrate judge, Stephen L. Tiscion, denied him bail and ordered that the singer be detained pending trial. On January 8th of 2020, Kelly celebrated his 53rd birthday in jail, and as of November of 2020, as we speak, right now, it appears that this is where he'll be spending his 54th birthday as well. In late March of 2020, shortly after the World Health Organization called COVID-19 a pandemic, R. Kelly asked a federal judge to set him free due to health concerns, as reported by CBS Minnesota. Now, in the filing, which was submitted to the U.S. District Court in Chicago, R. Kelly's lawyers wrote that the health risk to Mr. Kelly, because of his age and his existing health issues, especially considering the conditions at the jail, necessitates his release on bail. In other words, they're saying, please let him out because he has health issues and pre-existing conditions which make him more susceptible to catching COVID-19. They claimed that the Metropolitan Correctional Center, where Kelly is waiting trial, lacks access to basic hygiene measures, including soap and hand sanitizers, and that the size of the cell makes social distancing impossible. They also argued that the court have long recognized that there is no greater necessity than keeping a defendant alive, no matter what the charge is. Their plea fell on deaf ears. He was denied bail. However, now, as the Hollywood Reporter learned in April, Judge Ann M. Donnelly ruled that R. Kelly would remain in prison because he's a flight risk and that he poses a danger to the community, especially to prospective witnesses. Now, in August of 2019, The Blast had put out that R. Kelly's lawyers were petitioning for his release from solitary confinement, and they were claiming that the singer had no meaningful interaction with other human beings, and that he spent no time outside getting any sunlight, and that he couldn't even buy snacks, even though other inmates were allowed to do all those things. Now, all of these claims of unfair treatment were quickly shut down by prosecutors who stated through The Blast that Kelly has had a cellmate for quite some time, despite his initial refusal to have one. In fact, he has had more than one cellmate so far. They even said that, what's more, they revealed that as of September of 2019, the defendant had access, which is R. Kelly, had access to indoor recreation 3 times a week, though it was not outdoor on the rooftop, and that he had 7 social visits to date, as well as 3 purely social phone calls. Now, as for those snacks, they added that he purchased items from the commissary, including snacks such as Snickers, and that at the jail cell, the staff have taken steps to ensure that the defendant's safety is top priority, and that he has been treated with dignity and with respect. But we all know how prison is, and we all know how jails are. A lot of stuff goes on behind them bars, man, that are just not spoken out in public. A whole lot of abuse goes on. Anyhow, a lot of people are saying that this is his karma. It's funny how he used to lock girls in rooms and isolate them, and he is now the one locked in a cell and isolated. So carry on with the story. In August of 2020, TMZ had actually put out that R. Kelly was placed back in solitary confinement for his own safety following an attack that took place inside his cell. Now, according to sources, Kelly was sitting on his bed when the inmate walked in and just began punching him because he was mad that protests staged by the killer's supporters outside of the jail were causing the facility to go on lockdown all the damn time. Kelly's lawyers, Steve Greensberg, he wasted no time. He used that attack as a reason to ask for his client's release. Now, we have not been provided any information from the jail, nor has Mr. Kelly called, is what his lawyer said. Regardless, it is time to release Mr. Kelly. The government cannot ensure his safety, and they cannot give him his day in court. This is what his lawyer said. We should not incarcerate people indefinitely because we cannot provide them with due justice. It is just not right. That's not how the justice system is supposed to work. Instead, the jail decided to put R. Kelly back in solitary confinement. Damn it. That's the only place they can protect him. Greensberg later told Page 6, explaining that the root of the altercation, he added that, my understanding is that every time there is a pro-R. Kelly protest outside the jail, they lock down the entire facility. When they do this, though, inmates don't get their commissary. They don't get their showers. They don't get their visits, stuff like that. And since they're fairly sporadic anyways, they get upset. So they're penalizing everyone in the facility because people are protesting outside in support of R. Kelly. And what that ends up becoming is the inmates are now angry at R. Kelly and they are targeting him. You got to understand that when you in prison, man, commissary is everything. Your visits, that's everything. Showers, that's everything. You're not at home anymore where you can just jump in the shower, take a shower, go to the refrigerator, get something to eat, or jump in your car and go visit whoever you want to visit, or tell them stop by the house. So this is everything for these inmates. But I can see how they're doing R. Kelly in the process, though. He is going through some crazy abuse simply because people are protesting outside of the jail and the jail don't like it. So what do? They lock the entire facility down, which makes the inmates very mad at R. Kelly. Now, in October of 2020, R. Kelly's lawyer rehashed the altercation that took place in his cell in August in a new court filing claiming, now this came through CNN, that a new video proved that no one raised a finger until R. Kelly's attacker was well into beating him, claiming that R. Kelly has suffered significant physical and psychological injuries. His lawyer, Michael Leonard, argued that an unresolved issue remains as to whether MCC jails personnel encouraged and then allowed a beating of Mr. Kelly to take place. That alone merits an evidentiary hearing. Now check it out. Meanwhile, prison employee D. Shishowski, who broke up the fight, actually said the lawyers he actually claimed that were simply not true. He said, we actually did jump in and helped him. We didn't let that man beat him just like that. Now, as he told it, he acted immediately when he found inmate Jeremiah Shane Farmer punching R. Kelly repeatedly in the head and the torso. The jail personnel also explained that he ordered Farmer to cease the assault. And when he refused, he actually deployed pepper spray to stop the attack. Now, as Farmer, he claimed in documents obtained by TMZ that he had attacked R. Kelly in hopes of shedding some light on the government's corruption. Now, what this person, and that person actually even went on to say that he was encouraged by jailhouse personnel to beat the daylights out of R. Kelly. These days, R. Kelly appears to have as many lawyers as charges, okay? And I don't know why he's doing that, because all that's going to do is deplete his funds. Now, following the attack in his cell, yet another lawyer spoke out on behalf of her client, telling the Chicago Sun-Times that fear and terror have left him petrified and paranoid. Nicole Blank Becker went on to claim that her client, which is R. Kelly, can't sleep and is now afraid to leave his cell during the 2 hours that he's permitted daily to venture out of the cell. His insomnia is serious, she said. He's even afraid to get his hair cut. What's more, Becker alleged that R. Kelly is scared for his life and that he's terrified and that he's gained so much weight during this COVID lockdown because of the lack of exercise. He's locked in a cell all the time. Becker went on to share her very different account of the attack. And she told the outlet that the singer, which is R. Kelly, was actually laying down with a blanket covering his face and wearing AirPods on the bottom tier of a bunk at about 9:45 a.m. He was listening to his music, probably singing a little bit because it's R. Kelly, when someone who was wearing shoes entered his unlocked cell and began to stomp and kick his face, calling the decision to keep him behind bars tremendously unfair. She argued, he's stuck in jail and he can't get a trial because of the pressures of COVID-19 on the prison system. He can't even have contact with outside world. He lives in a tiny little cell in fear of his own safety, and he suffers from headaches from being beaten up physically. This is what she said. R. Kelly was set to face charges of racketeering and sexual misconduct in Brooklyn federal court on July 2020. But as Vulture confirmed in April, Judge Ann M. Donnelly rescheduled it for September 29th due to the pandemic. We're past September 29th now. As the outlet noted, this would likely cause his Chicago federal trial, which had already been moved once from April to October 13th, to be pushed back even more. Now, come August, jury trials had resumed in Chicago, but if Kelly was hopeful he'd keep his court date, he was wrong. Prosecutors petitioned the courts to postpone his hearing, noting that the difficulty of keeping everyone safe as they planned to call 50 witnesses, 12 to 13 of which would have to travel in from a different state, including 8 to 9 of whom would be coming in from states on Chicago's coronavirus quarantine list. They also argued, and this was in the Chicago Sun-Times, that the trial would draw 34 to 36 people to a courtroom, not counting spectators, and that the risks were too high. Wow. Now, the U.S. District Judge Henry Leinenweber, he agreed. And this was also through the Chicago Tribune. He agreed that physically it seems to be virtually impossible to proceed to trial in October. Kelly's lawyer, Stephen Greenberg, argued that Mr. Kelly shouldn't have to rot away in jail just because the government doesn't want their witness to spend a short time in quarantine. But even if Leinenweber conceded, Kelly was ordered to be held without bond over his New York charges anyways, so he wouldn't be released anyways. Now, trying his best to get R. Kelly out of prison, which a good lawyer would do, his lawyers have asked for his release a total of 6 times now, and they've been denied a total of 6 times now. At the time of this writing, most recently they petitioned the Second Circuit Court of Appeals in September of 2020, arguing that the singer hadn't been able to prepare for his case for 6 months and he should therefore be released. Now, speaking with CNN, Kelly's legal team stated that they hadn't been able to meet with their client in person since March due to the coronavirus restrictions. And they noted that because R. Kelly cannot read or write well, he is unable to review documents on his own or to provide a feedback meaningfully. Attorney Tom Farinella said to CNN that for half the time he's been incarcerated, he's not been able to meet with counsel. This is illegal. While attorney Steve Greenberg added that Kelly is not a danger or a flight risk, and that he's a prime candidate for other inmates to abuse and to get jail credit for abusing. Which they have a point. I mean, where can R. Kelly go? If all his travel documents are taken away and surrendered, and he is placed on a monitor, ankle monitor, and restricted to a home, an address, where can R. Kelly go? R. Kelly is R. Kelly. He won't be able to pass our borders. So where would he go? Anyhow, unfortunately for them, the courts ruled that the prosecution was able to present a clear and concise, convincing evidence that R. Kelly was in fact a flight risk, as well as a danger to the community, and they denied R. Kelly's lawyer's request to have him out on bail once more. So that's number 7. R. Kelly, the self-proclaimed king of R&B, is facing some allegations in a new Lifetime documentary and in a disturbing People magazine interview, specifically above his relationship with the late singer Aaliyah. Now, Aaliyah passed away a while back, and the whole R. Kelly to Aaliyah thing, I don't know if this is karma again or if this is coming full circle, but people are saying that he is going to have to pay for that as well, because the conditions under which he got married to Aaliyah seem to resonate with mind control, manipulation, abuse, and all those other things that he is being accused of. Now, in an interview with People magazine, 8 individuals who claim to have either been controlled by R. Kelly or have known people who have been spoke with the magazine about their experiences with the singer. The magazine article comes shortly before Lifetime premiered their new 6-part docuseries about Kelly, and that one was called Surviving R. Kelly, which a lot of us have seen by now. These were the good old days, but those are the things that also make you cry. Cunningham remembered once touring with Aaliyah when the artist was 15 years old after the singer had released her 1994 album, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number. And this was according to BET. We were out on the road with Aaliyah. This is how she told the story. She said, we were out on the road with Aaliyah on a tour bus. There really weren't many confined spaces on a tour bus. When you get on the bus, there are bunks. And so these bunks have like little curtains so you can like pull them down at night if you don't want somebody to see you sleeping. So it just so happened that we were all laying in our bunks and the curtains are open. You know, we talking to each other and whatever. Everybody's communicating. We laughing. We on tour. We having fun. When the room door flew open on the bus, I don't know if the bus hit a bump, or I don't know if R. Kelly purposely flew the room door open because he wanted an audience, every one of us, to watch what he was doing. But the room door flew open on the bus, and we all could see Robert having sex with Aaliyah. At that time, Kelly was 27 years old. At that time, Aaliyah was a 15-year-old musical protege that was placed in his care. When asked to describe what she allegedly witnessed, Cunningham said, "Things that an adult should not be doing with a child. I can't stress to you how people are still suffering behind things that went on 20 years ago," she said. However, Cunningham wasn't the only one to recall Kelly's relationship with Aaliyah. Kelly's former personal assistant, Demetria Smith, also opened up about what he saw during his time with the singer, and he claimed that he witnessed Kelly and Aaliyah's wedding and that he even helped to get false documents so that the underage Aaliyah could actually get married to R. Kelly. Now, if documents are falsified in a wedding, then that wedding is null and void, right? However, he is still held accountable for the lengths that he went through to be with this child. Smith recalled Kelly approaching him when they were in Miami, Florida, and telling him that he got Aaliyah in trouble, believing that he had gotten her pregnant. That broke my heart right there, he said, because I really believed him when he said that he wasn't messing with Aaliyah, because I asked him before. I said, I see y'all getting close. What's going on? He said, man, I'm working with her. I'm not messing with her like that. But then he found out that he was, and it broke my heart. Once he told me that, oh, she might be pregnant, I was at a loss for words. Smith further admitted, I was in the room when they got married. I'm not proud of it. I had papers forged for them when Aaliyah was underage. I did it. It was just a quick little ceremony. She didn't have on no white dress, and he didn't have on no tux. Just everyday wear. She looked worried and she looked scared when the wedding was happening. According to reports, Kelly and Aaliyah's marriage was annulled just a year later. Her parents had the last say. This is what Smith said. Aaliyah later passed away when she was 22 years old after a plane crash while she was leaving the Bahamas. Now, Kelly's alleged relationship with Aaliyah, that wasn't the only time he was accused of engaging in sexual acts with a minor. A video allegedly showing just that with a woman who may have been as young as 14 caused him to be indicted in 2002. As noted by People, Kelly and the woman believed to be in the footage denied the people in the recording were actually them. Kelly was later found not guilty on 21 counts of child pornography in 2008. So this is nothing new with R. Kelly. In 2008, he was already tried, accused of, charged with 21 counts of child pornography. And the video leaked out. And I gotta tell you that I saw that video. I saw it on VHS. And everybody who's seen that video could tell that that was a little girl. Okay? And everybody who saw that video can tell that that was R. Kelly. However, R. Kelly and the girl were able to go to court and both say, that's not me. That's not me. And based on that, that case was thrown out. And also so was 21 counts of child pornography. So he got away with a lot for quite some time. Robert R. Kelly is perhaps the most controversial figure in the music industry. His signature style of blending bizarrely explicit R&B sex ballads, bump and grind, I don't see nothing wrong, with inspirational gospel songs has drawn intense criticism while paradoxically also propelling him to superstardom. But the true divide in the public perception of Kelly is not over the kinky crooner's lyrics. Starting with his scandalous rumored marriage to Aaliyah when she was 15 years old, Kelly has remained a headline regularly regarding questions about his alleged preference for sex with minors, minor-aged girls. The most infamous was his acquittal of that 14 child pornography charge in 2008. But that certainly wasn't the last word on the subject, because since then, he's continued to produce music and tour the world without a few major hiccups. Like I've said, if you've seen Surviving R. Kelly, then that should give you a good insight. Now, I'm not saying, this is my disclaimer for my channel, I'm not saying that R. Kelly is guilty because I wasn't there, but I cannot disregard these females' stories. Even though the reality is there that a lot of people are seeing money signs at the moment, because even if they won't get anything, on the other hand, they will at least be able to sue his estate for damages, and they could be awarded hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. It is said that he has money hiding offshore in different accounts, and he has dispersed his money, so now he is playing the broke role. But he has multiple lawyers. So not long after the end of his 2008 child pornography trial, which we'll get into momentarily, R. Kelly and his wife, Andrea Lee Kelly, finalized their divorce. So if you're wondering when he got divorced from Andrea, it was in 2008. Now their marriage, like every other aspect of the singer's life, was not without a significant degree of drama. In 2005, his wife had actually filed a restraining order against R. Kelly, claiming that he beat her on multiple occasions. She later let that restraining order expire, though, instead of filing for an extension. So, in a spring 2007 interview with Essence, R. Kelly's wife shrugged off the questions when they asked about the restraining order.